What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video here on B-Mills Wrestling. In today's video, I'm going to be trying to predict who I think will dethrone every current champion in the WWE. Before we get into the video, if you guys are not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. And don't forget to leave a like down below. Alright guys, let's get into the video. The first champion that we're going to be talking about is the current World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins. Obviously, Seth Rollins, he cashed in about over a month ago at SummerSlam, the whole ruse of the century stuff, where obviously he faked his injury, and then he came out and he cashed in on CM Punk during the main event of SummerSlam Night 1. That was obviously an awesome moment. Ever since Seth has won the title, I feel like they've done a good job of incorporating his group, the Bronze, right? Becky Lynch now, CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns. I feel like everybody's been revolving around the world title scene. So I feel like they have done a really good job so far with Seth's title reign. Obviously, he defended it against LA Knight, which ended in a disqualification. He defended it in the Fatal 4-Way against Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk. So I do expect Seth to really have a lot of world title defenses before he is ready to give up the title. But if I have to pick somebody who I think will dethrone Seth, it's definitely CM Punk. It has to be CM Punk. In my opinion, that's the only right answer here. I know that a lot of people think it's going to be Roman Reigns because that's probably going to be the WrestleMania match. I don't think the title needs to be on the line in that match, especially since Roman, discredited that title, called it the loser's bracket title. So him going after the title just would make no sense to me whatsoever. Sami Zayn, I know a lot of people think could be a possibility because the Royal Rumble is in Saudi. He's been talking about how he has to be a world champion, and him winning the Rumble in Saudi would be a cool moment. But I don't want to see Sami versus Seth at WrestleMania, and I don't want to see Sami take the title from Seth Rollins. I only want to see CM Punk win the title from Rollins because, like I said, Seth Rollins, screwed CM Punk by faking the injury and cashing in on him. He was only champion for 5 minutes during that night at SummerSlam. And then obviously CM Punk got screwed again in the Fatal 4-Way because of Becky Lynch. Obviously now he brought back AJ Lee to help with that situation. But I feel like this storyline between Seth and Punk and now AJ and Becky, it's going to go for much longer. It'll lead into War Games. We'll probably have Team Seth versus Team Punk, and we'll probably have Team AJ versus Team Becky as well. And then I think it's going to honestly go all the way until the Royal Rumble. My prediction is that we will see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble, and then we will see CM Punk defeat Rollins for the title, because I think that Roman's going to be out for a long time. I don't think Roman's coming back for War Games. I think it's just going to be Team Punk versus Team Seth. I don't think Roman will have any involvement in the match or on CM Punk's team again, especially since they kind of have a history now. I feel like I don't want to see them on the same team. They did that last year. So I think Roman will return at the Royal Rumble, and then he will ultimately cost Seth the title. Punk will win. He gets his moment. He gets to hold the title going into WrestleMania, and then you also get the build up for Roman versus Seth, which, like I said, that has to be the WrestleMania match. So yeah, I'm going with CM Punk. The next champion that we're going to be talking about is the WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. Obviously, Tiffany Stratton, she has held the WWE title the longest out of anybody currently in the WWE. She has the longest reign. I think it's over 230 days at this point. So pretty impressive. As far as her reign, it hasn't been great. The matches haven't been great. There's been some good matches for sure, but I feel like a lot of the matches haven't been great. A lot of the feuds haven't been great. I think a big issue right now with Tiffany Stratton and the SmackDown roster is the fact that they just keep giving her the same opponents, right? It's Nia Jax, it's Jade Cargill. That's all we get to see on SmackDown. It feels like there's just nobody else that can be in the title picture and take the title from Tiffany Stratton, because I don't want to see it be Nia Jax. And obviously I think that time has passed for Jade Cargill. I honestly did think she was going to win at SummerSlam, but with her not winning and their last match ending in a DQ, I just don't think that they're going to give the title to Jade. I do think they are setting up a triple threat at WrestlePalooza between Tiffany, Nia Jax, and Jade Cargill, but I really do think that Tiffany probably is going to retain. There is a world where I could see Jade winning. Definitely not Nia Jax. That would make zero sense for this situation, but I think Tiffany will continue to hold the title past WrestlePalooza. So obviously that begs the question, who will be the one to take the title off of Tiffany Stratton? I think it's going to be Bianca Belair. I think Bianca Belair in this situation is the only one that makes sense. Obviously, she's been out with a broken finger. She's been out for months. She missed Evolution. She missed SummerSlam. She missed Clash in Paris. She's probably going to miss WrestlePalooza. So I don't know when she is going to return, but I feel like when she does, she has to come after Tiffany, because that'll feel like a fresh fresh new storyline, and obviously it'll give us a good match as well. Two, great in-ring performers. It'll be something new and fresh, like I just said, in-ring wise, and just like going at each other on the mic. That's something I do want to see. And like I said, if there's anybody that should take the title off her, I think it should be Bianca Belair. Obviously you know what you're getting when you give the title to Bianca. She's had incredible reigns as champion. I feel like she is due for another one. She hasn't had one in a couple years at this point, so I feel like giving her the title could make a lot of sense. I know that probably the original storyline was going to be Bianca coming back after Naomi to finish up their storyline for the women's world title. But obviously with Naomi vacating that title and her not going to be around for a couple years, I feel like they should just have Bianca go after Tiffany and the women's championship on SmackDown, because like I said, that roster is in shambles right now. So I feel like Bianca, she will come back at some point and she will challenge Tiffany and she will defeat her for the title. Now let's talk about the women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch has had an incredible IC title run so far. I've been very impressed with it. Especially compared to Lyra's. No shade on Lyra. She just didn't have any big feuds that felt important until Becky Lynch. And then obviously Becky defending against the likes of Lyra and Bayley. Obviously we saw Nikki Bella. We saw Natalya, Maxine Dupri. She's just been defending the title left and right. Banger match after banger match, especially the ones with Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. So, yeah, I think this title reign probably has been the best current title reign when you look at all the title reigns. She's on TV every week, cutting a promo, having a match. Getting into a feud. So I really, I don't want to see her lose that title anytime soon. But, if there is somebody that I think, should take the title from Becky Lynch, I think it's AJ Lee. Obviously, AJ Lee just made her shocking return to the WWE this past week on SmackDown. Obviously, we know we're going to get a mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza between Punk and AJ versus Becky and Seth. Super excited for that. But I think after that, we're going to get into a singles program between Becky and AJ. And I think AJ is going to be the one to take the title off Becky. I could be completely wrong, but AJ did sign a multi-year deal. I feel like she's going to be around, full time, it looks like, on Monday Night Raw. So I feel like giving her the title could be awesome. That's obviously a title that wasn't around when she was, right? Like, she only had the Divas title. Now there's so many titles to go after, and I feel like that's a good start for AJ Lee. She hasn't been around in 10 years. Obviously, I think she, I don't know if I would say she deserves it, because, like, she hasn't had any matches, any feuds. So it'll be interesting to see, if they just give it to her right away, or if they kind of make her go through some other people to get to the title. But I feel like it should be AJ, because, when I'm looking at the roster, I'm looking at like Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, they're involved in their own storyline. I don't think they're going to go down to the mid-card either. Stephanie Valkyrie was my original pick in the last video I did when Becky was champion. But with Stephanie getting in the world title picture and having a match at WrestlePalooza, I just don't see, her winning that women's IC title anytime soon. And there's just really nobody else, right? Like Nikki Bella, been there, done that. She wasn't going to win the title. Lyra can't challenge for the title. Bayley's got her own thing going on. She's not going to come after Becky Lynch. So yeah, the only person that makes sense to me is AJ Lee, and nobody's going to be mad at that, because everybody loves AJ Lee. So like, you're not going to hurt Becky Lynch. Like, Becky Lynch taking a loss to AJ, it wouldn't hurt her whatsoever, right? And then AJ, like, you would get to see AJ with a title reign for the first time in over 10 years. That would just be awesome in itself. So yeah, I'm going with AJ Lee. I think she will be the one to dethrone Becky Lynch. Now let's talk about the current men's Intercontinental Champion, Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio, obviously, he won the IC title back at WrestleMania in that awesome Fatal 4-Way match. Got loud ovation. But I feel like ever since, his booking has been interesting, because his only real feud since winning that title has been AJ Styles. They've already done the match twice, and I feel like, people are going around on Twitter saying that the feud's not done yet, which I find interesting. I feel like it definitely should be. I thought AJ was actually going to be the one to dethrone Dominic Mysterio, as I predicted in my last video. I thought it was going to be AJ, but obviously that's not the case. So now you have to look at the other options. Another option is Finn Balor. I just don't think it's going to be Finn Balor. If Finn Balor, is ever going to get another singles title, I'd rather it be the world title. I really don't want to see him with the IC title. At that point, just keep it on Dom. I really don't want him, losing to Finn in a feud. I feel like that would make no sense, because Dom is the young star. So yeah, I don't think it should be Finn Balor. I think that a good, person to dethrone Dominic Mysterio, a good pick, I should say, is Ilya Dragunov. Obviously, Ilya hasn't been around in over a year because he tore his ACL, but he is rumored to be back in September, and obviously we're in September, we're in the middle of September, so I would assume his return is on the horizon. Obviously, I think he is going to go to Monday Night Raw, and I think he will come after Dominic Mysterio at some point. Maybe he has a few feuds before, maybe like AJ Styles. That was the big rumored feud. Maybe like Penta. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of great matches and like feuds they could do with Ilya, but I feel like him taking the IC title from Dom would be awesome. Because he's just such an insanely talented wrestler. Like I would love to see, and he's so young as well. So like I would just love to see that feud between two young guys in Dom and Ilya, and then have Ilya defeat Dom for the title, where it doesn't really hurt Dominic Mysterio as well. Obviously Rusev's another guy. He's calling his shot for next in line for that title. I don't really see that happening, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe they continue Rusev or Sheamus and he gets screwed. I'm not sure if I would like that. But I just don't feel like Rusev's the right person to take it from Dom, because that is heel on heel. If you did Ilya, to take the title off of Dom, that's a babyface at least. And that would just be an awesome way to reintroduce Ilya to the main roster. Because, a lot of people, they were starting to get behind him last year before his injury. So it'll be interesting to see the type of reaction he gets when he comes back. But I really do hope that he is the one to dethrone Dom. I feel like that's just the perfect choice. Now let's shift over to the United States Champion on SmackDown, and that is currently Sami Zayn. Obviously, a very controversial win over Solo Sikoa. A lot of people felt he did not need that. I am one of them. I don't think he needs the U.S. title. I don't really understand the booking decision of that, especially since like Solo and Jacob had a thing going. I'm not sure like where that's going now. I think Solo's coming back after the title, so I don't really know what Jacob Fatu is doing in this situation. But Sami holding the U.S. title definitely doesn't make any sense to me, especially since his whole motto and goal is going after the world title. I want to win a world title. So I don't understand why he went after the U.S. title. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I do love the idea of the open challenges, though. That's a great way to, have his title reign feel important, feel meaningful. Because if it was just a normal, like, boring, IC title run that he had, in 2024, I'm just not there for that. Like, I don't want to see that. So, like, at least if he's having these open challenge matches every week on SmackDown, they're going to be guaranteed good matches. Like, obviously, Sami Zayn is insane in the ring, so any match you give him, it's going to be amazing. So I really do like that. But yeah, who dethrones Sami Zayn? Is it going to be Solo Sikoa? I don't think so. I don't think Solo should win back the title. I feel like that would be boring. I feel like that would be stupid. I'm honestly mad that they're continuing that feud, after seeing that Solo promo package that they had. But, like, I don't think it should be Solo. I think it's going to be somebody that answers the open challenge call. And this is going to be a little bit crazy, but stay with me. I think that The Miz will dethrone Sami Zayn for the United States Championship, because obviously the whole storyline with Miz and Melo right now, Melo, in Miz's shadow, trying to get his own title shots, and then Miz goes to Aldis first. Miz gets him a title shot, or Miz, is tagging himself into these tag matches and then getting the pin when Melo was about to win the match. Like, I really do like what they're doing with Miz and Melo. I think at some point we're going to see the turn. Miz is going to turn on Carmelo Hayes. I think it's pretty inevitable, because that's who the Miz is. So the way I think this happens is Miz is going to get the open challenge shot against Sami Zayn, and then he's actually going to win the title from Sami Zayn. It's going to be a crazy, unexpected thing. And then you're going to go into Miz. He's going to take Melo's United States title shot, is basically what I'm saying. I think Melo has the next in line title shot. I think the Miz is somehow going to finesse his way in there first, and then he is going to be the one to take the U.S. title off of Sami Zayn, and then he's going to turn on Carmelo Hayes, and then you're going to get a Miz versus Melo, rivalry, little feud, and then you're going to have Melo take the U.S. title from the Miz. I feel like that's what makes the most logical sense. And I could be wrong. It could be somebody else that answers an open challenge call, but I feel like having the Miz take it from Sami and then hold it for at most like a month or something like that, have him feud with Carmelo Hayes, and then have Carmelo finally win the U.S. title. That's going to be so awesome, because he's deserved it ever since he came out to the main roster. His booking's obviously been inconsistent, but I feel like I love what they're doing now, and I feel like this is a route, that could lead to Melo getting his hands on that U.S. title. So if The Miz beating Sami Zayn is how we set that up, then I'm all here for it. So I think The Miz will dethrone Sami Zayn for the U.S. title. Now let's talk about the Women's United States Champion, Julia. Julia is an interesting one because, she doesn't really get booked properly over on SmackDown. She's really rarely showcased. Doesn't really cut too many promos. Obviously, she's packaged up with Kiana James, and that's been interesting. I don't really think it's getting over, though. She's been feuding with the likes of B-Fab and Michin, who I just don't care about, to be honest. And that goes, to what I was saying earlier about the SmackDown women's roster. It's just not good. They need some of the talent from Raw, or they need to make some call-ups. I just don't see anybody on that roster dethroning Julia. I could see a world where they have Lara Valkyria go over to SmackDown and take the title from Julia, but obviously she's dealing with Bayley, so I don't think that's going to happen. But like, yeah, nobody on SmackDown really catches my eye. Alexa Bliss would be cool, but she's involved in the tag stuff with Charlotte Flair. They're the current champions, so that would make no sense. So I'm actually going to go with somebody from NXT, and that is Sol Ruka. Literally in my last video when I predicted who will dethrone every current champion, I said Sol Ruka, and I have the same views on how the SmackDown roster for the women, it just isn't good, and that they should make some call ups and then have somebody down in NXT defeat Julia for the U.S. title, and I think it should be Sol Ruka. There's obviously other options as well, like there's Jordan Grace. I don't know when she's gonna get called up. Blake Monroe, but that's heel on heel, so I don't feel like that would make too much sense. And there's a few others, right? But I feel like Sol Ruka, she's gotten very over in NXT. She's obviously an incredible in-ring performer. She just has aura. So I really would like to see her come up at some point, maybe when she drops the North American Championship and the Speed title, because she is still holding that, I believe. So, when she's done with NXT, which I hope is soon. I don't think they're doing a draft, though, so her call-up might be a little random. But I feel like when she does get called up, she should be the one to dethrone Julia. And yeah, I think that is probably going to mean Julia will hold the title for a while, which I'm okay with. Like, I feel like if they just give her matches, like, weekly, she can put on great matches. I don't think people are going to be mad at that. But, like, I'd so much rather see Sol Ruka be the one to take the title rather than a B-Fab or Michin. Like, I just wouldn't be interested in that. So yeah, I'm staying with my answer from my last video. I think it'll be Sol Ruka to defeat Julia for the U.S. title at some point. Now let's shift over to the tag division, where we have the Raw World Tag Team Champions, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. I don't know how many times these guys have held these titles, but every time it seems like their reigns just get worse and worse. Like, their booking of the tag division on Raw, it could be said a million times. It's just not good. It's not good at all. They don't defend the titles. There's no real feuds for the titles. They don't have all the tag teams like involved like they do on SmackDown. Like, the difference between SmackDown and Raw, the tag division, that is, it's crazy to me. But, as for who dethrones them, I genuinely, I don't know. Because, like, everybody in that tag division, like the New Day, no. The Creed Brothers, I don't think so. Like, the War Raiders, I really hope not. Couldn't be less interested in them. Like, LWO, no. Like, there's just nobody. So what I think should happen, and who I think should dethrone them, is a team that's not really, involved in the tag division, but they are involved in the faction, and they've had multiple tag team matches together, and that is Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed of The Vision. Obviously, like I said, they've had multiple tag matches together, but they're just not in the tag division. They're not going after the titles. I think that they should. Like, at some point, you have to realize you have to do something about this tragic tag division on Raw, and the best thing that they can do is have Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed go take those titles, destroy the Judgment Day, and then just go on like a tear, just like tearing through the entire division, and then holding those titles next to Rollins, who's holding the world title, and also next to Becky Lynch, who's holding the women's IC title. Give them all the gold. Why not? Right? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me why they, haven't already started, like, doing this. And then also, if you give the titles to Braun and Bronson, you can start a feud with them and the Usos. They're obviously going up against the Usos at WrestlePalooza. Why couldn't that be for the tag titles? Like, right? Put the tag titles on Braun and Bronson like a couple weeks before, and then you have that match be for the tag titles. It would feel like more meaningful. But either way, maybe they do this match at WrestlePalooza, and then after we see the Browns take the tag titles, and then they continue the storyline with the Usos. Because like I said, I feel like, we're going to see the Vision feud with guys like Jay, Jimmy, Punk, like AJ Lee. Like, it's going to go on and on, probably to Royal Rumble and maybe even WrestleMania. So I wouldn't mind if, we had like a big rivalry with a ton of matches between the Browns and the Usos for the tag titles. It would kind of feel like the Usos versus the New Day back in the day, where you could see that match 100 times and you would never get sick of it, because the storyline, the feud was always good. I feel like they can do a similar thing here. But, the way to do that is they have to pull the trigger and give the titles to the Browns. Please, just take the titles off the Judgment Day and save this Raw tag division, please. Now let's talk about the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Wyatt Six. Obviously, that is Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. They're the two that actually hold the titles within the group. And, obviously they've had an interesting reign so far. They kind of just lurk in the shadows in the background when people are cutting promos backstage or whatever. I'm not, like, fully invested into them. I never really was. I was at the beginning, I will say. I thought their debut was awesome. But I feel like ever since then, it just hasn't really gotten to me. Like, I really don't like the Wyatt Six that much. I don't really love them in the ring as well. I feel like, when you look at the rest of the SmackDown roster, the tag roster, like, they're so fast-paced. Like, the matches they were having were so fun. I feel like the Wyatts are a little bit slower. They're a little bit sloppier. Like, not trying to knock on them, but, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm ready to see them give up the titles. I don't know if this is going to be, like, a really long title reign, but, like, I would love to see a new tag team take the titles from the Wyatt Six, and a new tag team, a tag team that we haven't seen hold tag team gold on the main roster is Fraxium, right? That's obviously Axiom and Frazier. So I really would like to see this happen because, like I said, they haven't held the tag titles on SmackDown. The main roster, that is. They were great in NXT. They had awesome matches in NXT, multiple time tag team champions. So, like, do it again. Like, I really don't see a world where, like, the Street Profits win it back because, I feel like they're going to split at some point, which is interesting. But, like, who else? Right, you have like DIY. I don't think so. They already had a couple reigns in the last year. I don't feel like that would make sense. Motor City Machine Guns. I don't really see that too much. So I feel like the best option is Fraxium, not because of a storyline with the Wyatts. It's simply because they just haven't held the titles before, and I want to see a new team take the titles off of the Wyatt Six. So yeah, give them to Fraxium. Now let's talk about the women's tag team champions Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Obviously, their work together has been pretty interesting. At times it can be a little cringy, but overall I do like, the idea of like they're not friends. It's a good mesh, right? Like they're two veterans within the company. Like Alexa and Charlotte, like it's gonna work, right? I think that Alexa has really helped get Charlotte over as well. Getting her cheered finally, which I think was a big thing for WWE. When Charlotte came back, they wanted her to be a babyface because she was out for so long, and she was just still getting booed in that feud with Tiffany Stratton. So I feel like this is just really working with Alexa and Charlotte. I don't want to see them end it too soon. I think at some point it's inevitable that one's going to turn on the other, and we're going to get a feud, maybe going into this year's WrestleMania. But yeah, obviously right now we're focusing on who's going to take the tag titles off of them. Obviously they're feuding with the Secret Harvest right now, Chelsea Green. I just don't think that they make sense to take the titles off of Alexa and Charlotte. So I'm actually going to go with a team over on Raw, and that is the Kabuki Warriors. I think the Kabuki Warriors make the most sense in this situation. I know right now they're not involved with Charlotte and Alexa in any way, but I can see kind of like what they're planning out, or at least what I think is going to happen in the future with these titles. I feel like we are going to get the full-on heel turn of the Kabuki Warriors. Asuka's obviously pretty much all heel. Kairi Sane's kind of in the middle. I feel like she will turn. They're feuding with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky right now, or like subtly, but eventually we're going to get that big feud between those two tag teams. So I think, Asuka, and Kairi, they go to SmackDown at some point and they win the titles off of Charlotte and Alexa. Maybe have a little feud there as well. I don't know when that match would be, but I feel like they would take the titles, and then they can go on a feud with the likes of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for the tag titles. And then, down the line, they honestly probably will give the titles to Rhea and Io. I could see that happening. I don't think Rhea and Io will be the ones to dethrone Charlotte and Alexa, because I feel like there's no motive there right now. They're not an actual tag team, but I feel like once they get together to go after the Kabuki Warriors, then they will become a tag team, and then they can take the titles from the Kabuki Warriors. But I feel like the Kabuki Warriors, they're like the bridging team between the two of them. And then, yeah, like down the line, maybe you can get Charlotte and Alexa versus Rhea and Io. That'd be probably the greatest women's tag team match for the tag titles of all time. That would just be so stacked. But yeah, I think it should be the Kabuki Warriors, especially if they're going heel. I feel like they're the perfect team to take the titles off of Charlotte and Alexa to set up many more feuds. Okay, now let's talk about the vacant Women's World Championship. Obviously was vacated by Naomi just a little bit ago, and we know that we will get a one-on-one match at WrestlePalooza between Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky. That is going to be such a banger of a match. It'll be the third time we've seen it on the main roster. Both of the first two matches they had, they ended in a disqualification. So I'm hoping that this one ends clean with a winner. Obviously, a disqualification, this match would just make no sense. You have to put the women's world title on somebody, on a human body. So yeah, I think that we'll finally see one of these two go over the other, and I think that it's going to be Stephanie Vaquer. I think Stephanie Vaquer will beat Io Sky at WrestlePalooza. I think they're going to have an awesome match like they always do. And then I think towards the end, we're going to get some shenanigans. I think we're going to see Asuka come out there and Kairi like acting like they're trying to help. Maybe we get a full-on heel turn and they turn on Io Sky, or they accidentally cost her the match. I don't know. In some way, shape, or form, we see Stephanie Vaquer beat Io Sky because Asuka cost her the match. I think that's what makes the most sense. With Io and Rhea, like I said before, going into this feud with the Kabuki Warriors, having the world title on Io Sky just doesn't make any sense to me, because she wouldn't really be defending the title. They would be, in the tag team division, like I just said before. But yeah, so I think giving the title to Io, as much as I love Io, it just wouldn't make any sense. I could see a world where they put it back onto her because they want to rewrite the wrongs of her first title reign. That obviously was just horrible. Like, that's literally was never on TV, never defending the title. It just made no sense when there was so many things they could have done, like stuff with Asuka. But yeah, I don't think so. I think it doesn't make sense for this storyline. I think giving it to Stephanie Valkyrie is the right choice. I know that she is super young, and obviously just got called up to the main roster not too long ago. This is going to be her first women's world championship match. So yeah, I feel like giving her the title is a little ballsy, because like. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's a ballsy decision because she hasn't been around for that long. So, like, you don't really know what you're going to get by putting the world title on her, and, like, the type of feud she can produce. Obviously, we know the matches are always going to be good. So, it'll be an interesting thing to see, but I feel like it is the right choice because I feel like, you can do a lot of fun feuds for Stephanie Valkyrie. I feel like if Becky drops the title to AJ Lee, like I predicted, I feel like you can do Becky versus Stephanie. You could do Stephanie versus Bayley. You could do Stephanie versus Roxanne. I feel like there is a lot to do. Stephanie versus Raquel, probably. I feel like there is a good amount of matches she could have. And I hope that the feuds can also be just as good as the matches will. Because obviously, like I said, the matches are going to cook. So yeah, I hope that Stephanie does win the title at WrestlePalooza and goes on to have a great title reign. And finally, that brings me to the last champion on this list, the WWE champion, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes obviously won back the WWE Championship from John Cena back at SummerSlam, and we haven't really seen him a lot since. We obviously saw him kind of get written off TV by Drew McIntyre when he get Claymore through the announce table. He went on to film his role in the Street Fighter movie in Australia, so he was gone for close to a month, I want to say. At least like 3 weeks, I think. So it was kind of like Drew McIntyre just cutting promos by himself, and then we saw the involvement of Randy Orton. I think that Drew McIntyre, honestly, has a decent shot of beating Cody Rhodes at WrestlePalooza. I don't think it's going to be, a great shot. I feel like there is like a small chance, but like Cody just winning the title back, this is his first feud for his second reign. I just don't think that he's going to lose the title that quickly. I could see a world where they do this match more than once, and I actually think that they should. I feel like they should run this back, maybe at Crown Jewel, and do it a few times, because I want to see Drew McIntyre in the world title picture. I want to see him in the main event scene after all the BS at SummerSlam and WrestleMania, like him not being involved in important stuff. I am ready for him to be in the main event scene for the entire year, hopefully. So yeah, if he was the one to take the title off of Cody, totally wouldn't be mad at that. But I'm not going with Drew McIntyre for my answer. I'm actually going with Randy Orton. I think a lot of us are predicting that as well. It just makes the most sense because they have teased this feud between Cody and Randy for so long at this point. During Cody's first title reign, the amount of times they had Randy like look at the title weird, or just like act like kind of weird towards him, like they just never pulled the trigger on it, because like they obviously did Cody versus Cena instead at WrestleMania. I thought Cody versus Randy had a good shot of happening at Mania before the whole stuff with The Rock happened. Obviously, he ruined a lot of that. But now, The Rock's not in the way. John Cena's obviously not coming for the title. I feel like Randy Orton just makes the most sense because of all the history that they have with each other within the WWE, being in the legacy. There's just so much that they can dive into. Like, I know that they had a one-on-one match at Night of Champions for the King of the Ring. That didn't really have like a whole storyline to it, right? But they definitely started to, put together what is probably going to be the WrestleMania main event, if I would hope. I think, in that match, by having Cody kind of act heelish and go after Randy's back, Randy, tease, bringing back the punt kick, exposing the turnbuckle in that match, and then after when Cody won, Randy just kind of looked disgusted. But we've obviously seen them, make up ever since then. Randy, I just think he has to win the title. I know that he's a 14-time world champion. He doesn't need to win it. He's at the point of his career where he can just put over other people like Cody Rhodes. But I want to see him win 15, man. It's been 5 years since his last title reign. It'll be 6 in 2026, I believe. So, yeah, I want to see him win the title off of Cody Rhodes. When I look at like the possibilities, right, I see Drew McIntyre, maybe Jacob Fatu, if he's not in the mid-card scene anymore with the U.S. title. CM Punk, a lot of people think he's going to win the Royal Rumble and fight Cody at Mania. That's a possibility, but I think Punk should win back the world title from Seth Rollins, so I don't think that they should do that. I think Randy beating Cody at WrestleMania is just, like, that's what they have to do. To have Randy turn heel at some point in the near future and then run back that match from Night of Champions, but this time do it with a whole big storyline and then have Randy, beat Cody Rhodes and have him beat Cody by hitting him with the punt kick. The punt kick has obviously been teased from Randy Orton, like him bringing it back ever since the feud with Kevin Owens, when Kevin Owens was bringing back the band pile drivers and he was hitting everybody with them. Randy was going to hit him with the punt kick at WrestleMania. obviously, and then Kevin Owens got hurt his neck, so we couldn't see that match at WrestleMania. So obviously Randy wasn't going to punt kick poor Joe Hendry in that match, but he has been teasing it again with Drew McIntyre. Wasn't able to hit it. I think when he finally hits it, it's going to be against Cody Rhodes, because that's going to be the ultimate, like, wow moment. He was too scared and too afraid to do it at Night of Champions. So when they do the match, like I said, hopefully the main event of WrestleMania, he's not going to be scared. He's going to go full on heel. He's going to hit him with a punt kick, and then he's going to win the WWE Championship. That's what has to happen. I think Randy Orton should definitely be the one to dethrone Cody Rhodes. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to comment down below what future videos you guys would like to see from me. Alright guys, peace.